want me to fuck your pussy until all you can do is cry my name from your pretty little mouth, don't you? But your wet cunt is calling you a dirty liar.
So it is absolutely no secret that I am anti-pornography, anti-OnlyFans, and against everything that those things entail. I think we have all gathered that by now. But every time I post a video, whether that's about Bonnie Blue bashing 1000 freshers or whatever it is that she does, or Katie Robertson deciding to use her biological father to promote her spicy page, I'm always greeted with the same comment in the comment section, which is, Katie, what about book porn? So today we're gonna be talking about book porn. Well, more specifically, guys, today we're going to be talking about dark romance, which I feel like when people have asked me, they want me to talk about book porn. Primarily, they're talking about dark romance BookTok, which is a scary, dark place online where people either post extracts from their favorite dark romance book, or it's men recreating scenes from dark romance, or it's people doing audios that are meant to be horny and sexy and erotic, and usually they're pretty creepy, in my opinion. Now, if you're wondering, what the is dark romance? Okay, there's new things to learn every single day, new terms that we need to get our heads around. Dark romance, in a summarized way, is a way of saying how many crimes can we fit in on a piece of paper for people to read. The first thing I noticed with dark romance is one of the most heavy themes within the books is CNC, consensual, non-consensual, which we're going to talk about later on because I think a lot of the books that I've read, they really blur the line between what we're meant to assume is CNC and also kind of just looking like it's glorifying rape, which obviously, yeah, not the best. But let's have a look at some dark romance TikToks and we'll get into a discussion about whether I think that book is ethical, whether I think that dark romance is ethical, what my opinion is, because of course I've got one, and whether book porn is better than regular porn. We'll see, shall we? Let's begin.
I feel like if a book starts with a 2-page trigger warning list and ends that list with the quote, "Your mental health matters," sign me the book.
I love that. Writes a really disturbing book that literally references every single sensitive subject that a book could possibly reference. But hey, you just gotta whack a little "your mental health matters" at the end and hey presto, who cares about what the effects of that book may be doing? So as I said before, BookTok, dark romance novels, whatever you want to call it, they heavily play into the theme of, which many people defend and say that it's CNC, but from some of the books that I've seen, I really don't understand how the reader, upon first glance, is meant to fully understand that it is CNC. Again, we'll talk more about that as TikToks come about, but yeah, it is slightly strange.
You want taboo dark romance? I've got you. You want dark romance with non-con? I've got you. You want dark romance with no non-con? I've also got you. You want dark romance that's going to crush your soul and make you feel every emotion possible? I've also got you. You want dark romance that you don't want your family to know that you read? Guess what? I've got you.
So if you're confused, like I was to begin with, non-con means non-consensual. And you know what? If these books were just writing about non-consensual scenes in, I guess, an informative and awareness manner, then maybe I would understand that a little bit more. Not that we really need that. It's like in films when they do scenes for awareness, and it's like, so you'll do scenes for awareness, but you won't let women have armpit hair or leg hair because that's too unnatural for TV, but you'll show to be natural, but not regular women's bodies. It's so crazy. So in books, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, we know that happens. Do we need to read it? Do we need to see that? And in a dark romance novel, dark romance, non-consensual themes. Wow. That sounds great. Now, I know that there are some sensitive issues in talking about why people choose to read non-consensual graphic novels. And I do understand from my research that traumas of sexual violence often turn hypersexual, which can turn them to, I guess, be slightly more interested in reading this type of thing. I don't believe, in my humble personal opinion, that makes it any better. At the end of the day, someone wrote this book. Not every person consuming these books are people who have had trauma. I think that's fair to say. And I do just find it slightly strange, regardless of the reason why people choose to consume these books, but why these books are so popular in the first place, why non-con themes are really pushed and sexualized. Ultimately, it's glorifying. I know a lot of people dislike that. And they like to say, you just don't understand CNC. Well, that wasn't even described as CNC for one. That was described as non-con, which is just NC, which is. So I personally don't really understand why this is a thing. And it's not a good look for a whole genre of book to be associated with glorifying. Even if not all dark romance novels include that, because I know that some don't. Which gets me talking, I guess, about dark romance novels that don't include non-con. I actually don't have a problem with them necessarily. I also don't have a problem with those including scenes. Contrary to many people's belief, I'm not a prude. I don't care about seeing in books. At the end of the day, people have. I have, guys. Who would have thought? I'm not, against to any sexual material ever. I do think that in books can be a good thing or whatever. It's normal. People have. When I see this non-con thing being a main selling point and seeing people make TikToks also remaking these non-con scenes really icks me out. And I do genuinely look at the demographic for these and it's giving mental illness, I'm not gonna lie. Sorry if you get mad at that. I know there's gonna be so many people crying at me as usual, but sorry. It's a little bit strange. So I've muted this for copyright reasons, but you've got book recommendations for when you want to flick the bean. Okay? And then it's them highlighting a series of books that I assume contain content, aka book pornography. Now, I think there are layers to discussing whether I think that book pornography is an issue or not. Quite frankly, there are some pros, there are some cons, there are some similarities to normal pornography, and then there are some differences that I think do make it, I guess, more ethical than pornography. One reason I think it is obviously more ethical is that there are no real human beings involved. There are no women being exploited for the camera, and there are no visuals that I guess can create high beauty standards. For example, the showing of women's surgically altered bodies presented as the normal and presented as being the most desirable. Obviously, with reading, you are just forced to use your imagination, unless, however, the author is graphically describing certain body types, which again would be, I guess, slightly strange, and I think that would be very similar to pornography. But I think it would be silly of me to say that reading book is as damaging and bad for society as consuming regular pornography. Especially considering if some of the authors of these books are women, I think that automatically does alleviate some of the damaging aspects to what we see online. An industry that is directly ran by men for men to benefit men only. However, similarities that can make book, like in this scenario, just as damaging and weird and disgusting as regular would be the themes that are in it. So whether that's promoting, glorifying massively different age gaps, for example, getting 18-year-olds or barely legal women as the protagonist in your book, or just massively focusing on taboo subjects, which is very common in what we see in. And when you see these really dark, disturbing themes intertwined with and graphic sexual natures and graphic conversations in books, I don't actually think that it is too dissimilar to what we see online in video. And I think at that point, again, there isn't really entirely much of a difference in the message that's sent. I think when people ask me my opinion on book, it is entirely dependent on what the book is, what it entails, what it's about. For example, you could have a book written by a woman that isn't necessarily book, but is heavily descriptive of sex and talks about sex in a genuine positive way, that doesn't have the woman as some submissive creature, that has the woman, as the center of pleasure. It's not just a man doing stuff to the woman and her taking it like it is in a lot of these dark romance novels. That's my opinion generally about book corn. I should start saying, otherwise my boyfriend's gonna have a tough job editing this. So moving forward, it's sad that I do have to use the word corn, but we're going to use corn. We all know what that means now that I've said. I also think another similar theme in pornography to what we see in book corn is the ability to become desensitized by certain scenarios. Now, a big thing that I've seen, which you'll see when I show the TikToks, is people basically saying, give me more, give me darker books, give me more taboo themes, which is exactly parallel to what we see in video pornography online, and what many directors of pornography have actually come out and said, you know, we are facing an epidemic of people becoming desensitized, hence why we have more hardcore stuff, more damaging stuff, and people are genuinely just becoming used to what used to be hardcore corn. The hardcore corn we used to have is now softcore, and that's only gonna get worse with time. And I don't see how that works any differently with dark romance novels, when people are going, hey, this story about this guy that kidnaps this girl against her will is not dark enough for me. I need worse. There's no difference there at all. No difference. Why are you blushing? You know I respect you, he said, gruffly. I know, I murmured, my lips swollen and sensitive. What lips are we talking about here? Okay, good, because for the next 5 seconds, I'm gonna look like I don't buck men. Period. See? Isn't it so sexy to disrespect women? Also, can we focus on the fact that he said, for the next 5 seconds. 5 seconds? Wow, you're in for a treat, my girl. 5 whole entire seconds. That's 4 more seconds than I get. Just kidding. I'm so funny. And you know, I think my problem with these types of books and BookTok is that this isn't writing. I could write you this right now. Deadass. If you needed me to, I could write a dark romance novel in 10 minutes. It's that easy. It's just using really graphic, disgusting words. Like, I can't even say it, okay? Because it disgusts me. But it's just being vulgar and, like, descriptive and not censoring anything. And look, again, I'm not a prude, all right? People think, like, I'm scared of or something. I'm not. And truthfully, what you do in your bedroom, I'm never going to know. It's up to you. Obviously, we have discussions about whether women's sexuality should be centered around men being disrespectful to them. But I also think that in some scenarios when people choose to have, you know, rough, consensual, I don't necessarily think that that is an issue. Now, a lot of people do like to go as far as to say that if you engage in rough with your partner, you are part of the problem, because you are perpetuating this idea that women have to be submissive, women have to be really rough, which I don't think is necessarily the case. I do think there are nuances to this type of stuff, and I don't think being into rough necessarily means you're entirely like anti-feminist, which is genuinely what a lot of people think, which I can understand where those conversations happen and why they come up, because I do understand that being a submissive partner can be it can be, I guess, a bad thing depending on who your partner is, what your relationship is like. But I do think there are nuances to this, and at the end of the day, if a woman says, I'm enjoying this and I want to do this consensual thing with my partner, then you're adults, you can do that. I would, however, say that if your partner is saying, I want you to be submissive, this is the we have to have it every single time, and if not, then I'm not gonna love you, then yeah. I also think, you know, it's variety is the spice of life. You don't always have to be the submissive one. If you want to, that's great. But I don't think they are the values that should be pushed by society. We shouldn't perpetuate this idea that women are naturally submissive and that men are naturally dominant, and that's the dynamic that your life should be. The whole point of life is that you get to pick how you want your back blown out, so to speak. And that's the best part about life. You know, TikTok, BookTok, dark romance, whatever you want to call it, just promotes this idea that all women are like toys for men. Or as they genuinely like to call it in BookTok, from some of them I've seen, a sleeve, which is nice. Oh, I would love to be described as a sleeve. Thank you, BookTok. I'm definitely not a woman with feelings and a brain. I'm just a sleeve. Why do I do this to myself? Because people are just going to edit this and probably jerk off to it. So please don't do that. Don't. When he puts a toy in you and tells you to run, you look back at him and see him on his phone and get mad until he looks up and smirks and sets the vibration so high you can't stand. Run. And then it's always these AIS looking generated images. He chases you through the woods while he edges you. That's nice. I mean, I guess I specifically don't have much of an issue with that. It's not entirely non-con based. You know, people have got their kinks, and It is what it is. If you want to be chased through the woods consensually, then be chased through the woods consensually, I guess. I don't know what to say about that one. I thought Zaid was crazy, but this man right here used a gun to make her finish in public. Again, I don't, look, if you want to be with a gun, that's none of my business, but I would say if your partner is willingly, I don't know why I'm taking this seriously, okay, but if your partner hypothetically was using a loaded pistol, right, to pleasure you, your partner needs to be locked away. I'm sorry, taking the risk of blowing your insides out, literally, is not sexy. Look, if you want to empty the gun, is the gun emptied? We're getting into the hypothetical details here. The gun should be emptied. Surely that's enough of the thrill, or has it got to be loaded? Is that the point? I don't know. Some people are so odd, aren't they? Human beings are odd, and I love how the comments, no one is saying anything. So maybe I'm just a Scrooge because the comments are eating it up. And then we've got a book with, I don't even know what half of those words mean. I will break you, which sounds so respectful to women. I bet the book boyfriend respects women. I'm gonna go off on a limb here and say that if this is the type of book you genuinely enjoy, I guarantee that if I was to talk to your psychiatrist, they would have an equally long list of diagnoses for you in the mental health department. That's not normal, I don't think. And this is what I'm saying when it gets into the territory of being no different from online video pornography. Why are you reading a novel that has all of these different trigger warnings in? I just don't understand who is consuming this. It's like the dark romance ratings get better and better depending on how many messed up themes are in there. And I think that's very, very similar to pornography and how it's more sought after when there are very disturbing themes within that are usually centered around degrading women. And don't think because it's fiction that people like me won't have a problem with that. It's still weird. It's still creating this idea as well that women fantasize, over having terrible things done to them, which is one of the themes that I see on a lot of my comment sections. It's people being like, but women literally fantasize about being, and I swear to God, a lot of the time it is referencing these books. It's referencing books that I personally don't even think you can say are always CNC, because half of it literally states that it features actual. And I don't think including that many violent, actual targeted crimes against women in a dark romance book is a good idea, to be honest. But what the f*** do I know? All right, I just grew up on Jacqueline Wilson. Why can't we just go back to reading those books? When you wake up with a tampon inside you and you're sure you didn't wear it going to sleep, I slid it in, okay? You did? And now I'm gonna pull it out. I'm not laughing because at the end of the day, that just describes SA, right? That's not funny. We all know that, but it's just like who is reading that? That's the funny part. Who is like, yeah, this is hot. This is nice. But on a serious note, again, what is with the themes of people being asleep? I find that personally quite disturbing. Again, what people choose to do in their own relationships is fine. But how are we meant to know from this one TikTok that was a consensual thing? It clearly wasn't, because she was like, hold up, why is there a tampon in me? I didn't go to sleep with one in. That's a crime. The insertion of anything into anyone who is asleep without prior consent is a crime. I don't know if you realise that, but yeah, that's nice. Book recommendations based on kinks. DP. Nice. Size difference. Toys. Toys, fair enough. Everyone likes a toy, don't they? I'm not against that. Plug. But DP? Okay, again, whatever you're into, man. I'm not shaming. Although I would like to say size difference irks me a little bit, because it's always creatures and it's bordering on bestiality. It's always beasts and stuff. What is happening to my channel? Why am I talking about DP beasts? What the f*** is going on? They come for you and you didn't run. Okay. Again, can you imagine these three are probably friends, right? They just made that. How does that come about? Lads, I've got a great TikTok idea, right? And then you just dress up and do this, and Let's see what the hashtags are. Dark romance, spicy book talk, masked men, mask talk, why choose? Book talk girlies, fiction. I feel like the people that do this, it's kind of like on the same vibe of like the alpha male ones where like they do like montages of them being alpha male. You know when they're doing like 1,000 press-ups and like bathing in icy water in the morning? It's like that, but also the same vibe as people that do like the male feminist, like drinks matcha, reads books in public content where it's just them like, it's like content appealing for validation, you know? It's the same thing. All of these types of things are just on the same level of cringe. Like, just stop. I mean, it has 1.7 million likes, which, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Age gap recommendations. Again, like, lessons in corruption. Wow, that's not weird. This is perhaps the most brain rot video I've ever done. There's a club where men hunt women. Agree to their rules? Oh, the AI is sending me, we will catch you and then claim you. Are you scared? Just seriously, right? If you are someone who makes these TikToks, I've got a website that you might like. It's called Indeed.com. It's great. You can fill out job applications with, you know, not much effort. It's pretty simple. You can actually save your CV, and it means when you apply to jobs, you can just send it off quite fast. You should do that. And also using AI is crazy work. Next time, I bet there'll be AI generating dark romance novels. This is what I mean when I say it's the equivalent to the men that sit in public with the books and the matcha reading like feminist literature. It's the same thing. Stop, seriously. Submitting to him. Get on the floor on your knees. Hands behind your back. What is this background video? The best part is this is how they promote their books. This is how easy it is for these authors to promote dark romance. They literally just type out a weird scenario and then that literally gets eaten up by thousands of people. People are like, hell yeah. Yeah, like, this is perfect for me. I love it when it says submitting to him and then the word good girl is used. That's my perfect book. And then that's it. Like, there's no literature actually there. There's no art. It's just penis in vagina, submitting to him, come. That's all it is, and it sells. I was genuinely impressive. It's kind of a life hack, actually. Let's read the comments. Good girl is my weakness, I swear. I guess I'm not the obedient type. Yes, master. I swear I never agree or disagree with my darling. That made me want to kill myself. No, I'm not a good girl. I'm a very, very, very bad girl. Calm down, Sharon. No. Okay. Stop, I'm not on birth control. When he finds her after 9 years, he's determined to keep her this time. He roars his release. Good, I want you pregnant. So, again, like literal, right? We all understand that coming inside of someone when they've told you to stop is yeah? And just because it's in a book, it doesn't mean it's any less strange. And this is labelled as dark romance! Why don't you call it rapey romance? Because you know how fucking stupid that sounds. Because rape and romance don't go in the same sentence. You fucking gimp. Whoever wrote this needs to be locked away. He stands, oh, for God's sake, he stands over her while she's in a coma. I can already tell you this is. He can't stop his obsession with her. You're gonna make me lose my license. That's not romance, that's a crime. And it's even more sick because that's actually happened and happens very regularly in real life. People abuse their medical positions. I mean, very recently there was a male gynecologist who a female, and it wasn't in the setting of the gynecology office, but he was actually allowed to continue his job because he was a talented young person. So he probably will go on to commit more crimes against women. But there are also many more examples of people abusing their medical license in the real world, and that's why, you know, a lot of women are scared to go for their gynecology appointment. I don't know if you guys know this, but doctor-patient is a massive genre. People abusing their medical position and basically non-consensually violating their patient is a massive popular genre, and it shouldn't be. It's very strange, very strange, and this is, you know, very similar. When the demonic monster uses you as his own puppet, my little I thought that said my little mayonnaise. He whispers, if I pull this string, you do as I wish. One of the tentacles pulls your arm, moving... Oh, not the tentacle bullshit, for fuck's sake. You're bound to the bed, helpless and unable to escape him. If I pulled these two, I spread your... You whimper as he shoves a shadow tentacle in your mouth and then covers your eyes with another, controlling you, using you. Just a helpless little FXCK puppet, whatever that is. Read now. Wow, that was incredible. I've never been so hooked on a book before. The writing, the choice of words, truly. Chef's kiss. It's actually better than, what's a famous book? Warhorse. Fuck Warhorse. That writing compared to this. When you get home to find a terrifying... Can you stop going so fast? When you get home to find a terrifying, impressive suit man in your apartment, you try to pepper spray him, but he's too fast, holding you over his shoulder and throwing you on the bed. Yeah, I don't want to hear anyone say that this is CNC. Where is the C in the CNC? No, you wimp. Okay. You start hyperventilating. Why? Why? You know what it is, guys? It's laziness. It's laziness with mental upness. That's what it is. You can't be asked to write a real book because you know you can't. That's it. And you're messed up in the head, so you write this kind of stuff. I'm not reading the rest because that's so weird. Be different. Kidnap her. I don't even see how this is BookTok related, but it's literally hashtag dark romance. It's so funny as well. Like, is this something that you want? Is that something that you actually want in today's society? You want to be kidnapped by a strange man? Okay. Oh, these are brilliant. Again, it's men dressing up, like fully grown men dressing up in whatever this is and making... Is that a Gymshark t-shirt? You can't even commit to the full bit. Making skits about dark romance. So, I mean, look, people eat this up. Like, I what can I say? Maybe I'm the anomaly here, but this to me is strange. You know what's better than reading dark romance? Recreating scenes. No, I think both of those things should not happen. Please don't do any of those things. Don't recreate dark romance. Don't do that. Don't. With blood dripping from her thigh, I'm not reading that. When your husband asks why you are blushing, it's only a book, but the first page literally says this. Tell me, darling, does your significant other know about me? You're sincerely your book boyfriend. I just find that cringe, to be fair. That's just cringe. There's not much else to say other than a bit cringe. Oh yeah, then I saw this and it was books for 9 to 12-year-olds and it's someone trying to make a joke that kids should read this. And no one in the comments seemed to think that this was weird, so I'm just going to say it. Joking about, like, kids reading, like, violent, not even CNC, NC books is not funny, it's weird. And, like, I don't care, what's the joke there? Like, haha, a kid's going to read it and be traumatized. That's just odd. And I think it genuinely just goes to show that a lot of these people are so odd. Like, yes, the caption says that it's a joke. It's still a strange thing to joke about. You're still weird. I mean, what do I expect from people that, like, genuinely read this and think it's the best thing ever? And, like, look, you want to read one or two because the blurb catches your attention, whatever, but it's the people that actively only read this and then they're like, I need more, like crack addicts. Where's my, I need another one. Ban me another one. It's like they need more and more. And then each time it gets worse and worse. It's so weird. He puts a shock collar around your neck and shocks you when you disobey. Great. Now we're dogs. Now we're dogs. Love that. You've been kidnapped and the 6.5-foot tattooed man says, now be a good girl. Our generation is cooked. And all the people in the comments being like, I want to be kidnapped. Yes, because being kidnapped in real life, it's probably going to be your 6'5" mafia boss crush and definitely not some, like, old man creep with, like, a crazy beer belly, right? And I'm not saying being kidnapped is better if the person's more attractive, but what people seem to believe is that being kidnapped by a random stranger is like in these romance books and you're gonna fall in love and have Stockholm syndrome. That's not what happened. You know what, just go online and maybe watch a documentary about people that are kidnapped and what happened to them and how mentally up they are after they get out, if they get out. just joking about this kind of stuff and like romanticizing it is just weird. I don't care whether people want to use the whole, yeah, but it's consensual, like I am consenting to like fantasizing about this. You're weird. It's that simple. You don't get to tell people that they're not allowed to be weirded out by your messed up weird little fantasies. Again, what's even happening here? Oh, a masked person.
You liar. You want me to f your until all you can do is cry my name from your pretty little mouth, don't you? But your wet is calling you a dirty liar.
I feel violated. Like, I actually feel like I've been violated listening to that. But yeah, I think that's enough for today. Okay, I think I've seen enough. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my opinion on a genre of book corn. On a real, I can't stop you reading what you want to read. That's just my opinion. I do think it's a very strange genre of book that has very, very big similarities to pornography. And I don't think just because you're reading it that's any different at all, really. Obviously, there's nuances to everything. There's some better parts of it than actually consuming online content, but I still think it's odd, and you're not going to change my mind on that, I'm afraid. But I hope you did enjoy the video. If there's any other genres of BookTok you would like me to take a look at, or any specific books you would like me to read and go through for a video and just highlight the worst parts, let me know. Bit different, I guess, to my normal videos, but I'm cool like that. So, see you later.